relationships, as we often experience them, are often perceived as enduring and destined to last forever. However, the truth, according to Zen and Buddhist teachings, is that all relationships are inherently impermanent. The very nature of life is change, and this principle extends to the connections we form with others. Zen wisdom teaches us that relationships, like all things, are transient, passing through our lives not as fixed elements, but as experiences that help us understand attachment. Many of us, however, mistakenly view relationships through the lens of permanence, clinging to the belief that we are meant to be with someone forever. This attachment often leads to emotional suffering, as we attempt to force stability in situations that are meant to evolve and change. In this context, relationships become less about mutual growth and more about holding on to something that no longer serves us. Zen offers us an alternative perspective. Rather than resisting change, we can embrace it and learn from it. The natural ebb and flow of relationships can teach us valuable lessons about attachment, helping us release the very thing that binds us to pain. By accepting that all things, including relationships, are impermanent, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from clinging to them. As we move forward, we will explore how recognizing these signs of impermanence can guide us in letting go, and how this process of release is essential to spiritual growth. The idea that two people are destined to be together often stems from a deep desire for stability and security. In a world that constantly shifts, many of us yearn for a connection that feels unbreakable, a bond that promises permanence. This longing for a stable and enduring relationship can lead us to view love through the lens of destiny, believing that if two people meet, they must be meant for each other. This belief, however, often leads to emotional struggles when reality doesn't align with our expectations. Clinging to the idea of destiny can cause significant emotional dissatisfaction. We may become frustrated or feel incomplete when a relationship does not evolve in the way we imagined, or when it does not provide the lasting connection we expected. We might desperately attempt to force the relationship into the mold of permanence, ignoring the natural ebb and flow of human connections. But the truth is that all relationships, like everything in life, are impermanent. They come and go, often for reasons beyond our control or understanding. The illusion of destiny can create a sense of attachment that traps us in unhealthy relationships. We may hold on to the fantasy of a perfect, everlasting bond, even when signs indicate that it is misaligned with our needs or growth. It is only when we recognize that the connection may not be destined for eternity that we can begin to free ourselves from the grip of attachment. Letting go of this illusion allows us to accept the impermanence of relationships and the lessons they offer. Recognizing this illusion is the first step toward emotional freedom. It enables us to release the pressure of forcing something to last forever and accept that relationships, no matter how meaningful, may have a specific purpose. Sometimes, the purpose may be simply to teach us something, whether about ourselves, the other person, or the nature of attachment itself. By accepting this impermanence, we make space for more authentic connections in the future. This shift in perspective opens the door to understanding the subtle signs that indicate when a relationship is no longer aligned with our path, which will be explored next. These signs, though often quiet, can help guide us toward the peace of letting go. Attachment is at the heart of much of the emotional suffering we experience in relationships. In Zen and Buddhist philosophies, attachment is seen as the root cause of our pain, as it binds us to expectations, desires, and outcomes that are ultimately beyond our control. When we form attachments to people, outcomes, or even the idea of how a relationship should unfold, we create a false sense of security. This attachment to what we believe a relationship should be can lead to frustration when reality fails to meet our expectations. The Buddha's teachings emphasize that attachment is not inherently bad, but it becomes problematic when it leads us to suffer because we cannot accept change or impermanence. For example, when we hold on too tightly to the idea of staying in a relationship, simply because we have invested time or emotions into it, we prevent ourselves from moving forward. Our attachment blinds us to the reality that relationships are not meant to last forever. Instead of finding peace and acceptance, we find ourselves stuck in emotional turmoil, desperately trying to make something work that was never meant to be permanent. Letting go of attachment, however, is the key to emotional freedom. When we release the need to control or cling to relationships, we open ourselves to the possibility of inner peace and growth. Zen teaches that true peace comes not from holding on, but from understanding the impermanent nature of all things. By embracing the ebb and flow of relationships and acknowledging that they serve a purpose, whether short or long, we can move toward a more peaceful existence. Letting go frees us from the suffering created by attachment, allowing us to be fully present in the moment, without the weight of expectations. As we explore the signs of misalignment in relationships, we can see that attachment often blinds us to the truth. The next step in the journey is to examine how we can learn to recognize when it is time to let go and allow for true emotional freedom to take root. When we begin to observe our relationships through the lens of impermanence, something within us softens. We no longer demand that others stay the same, or that they fulfill a role we imagined for them. Instead, we start to relate to others as they are, in this moment, not as who they were, or who we hoped they would become. This shift in awareness doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we begin to care in a wiser, more liberated way. Letting go is not about abandonment. It is about release. Releasing ourselves and the other person from a dynamic that has become rooted in clinging, fear, or unmet expectations. In doing so, we create space for compassion to arise, not just for the other, but for ourselves. We acknowledge that choosing distance may sometimes be the kindest act, allowing healing to happen naturally, without force or guilt. From a Buddhist perspective, compassion does not require sacrifice at the expense of the self. True compassion includes the ability to set boundaries, to recognize toxicity without judgment, and to walk away with love when staying only deepens the suffering. This is a practice, a daily letting go of who we think we need to be in someone else's story, and a returning to who we truly are when we're at peace. Ultimately, learning to let go becomes a gateway to deeper presence. It invites us into the now, unburdened by the heaviness of trying to control what is constantly shifting. When we understand this, we stop clinging not just to people, but to our own stories of how things should be. We begin to trust the unfolding of life, one breath, one relationship, one goodbye at a time. In relationships, emotional withdrawal and misalignment are often the first signs that the bond is no longer aligned with one's path. Emotional withdrawal manifests when one or both partners begin to detach emotionally, leading to a lack of communication or shared experiences. It can be as subtle as avoiding deep conversations or as noticeable as not spending quality time together. Over time, this withdrawal creates a sense of isolation, and one might begin to feel as if they are living separate lives. This emotional gap makes it difficult to reconnect, and despite efforts to revive the connection, the emotional distance grows, signaling that the relationship may no longer serve its intended purpose. Misalignment occurs when two people no longer share the same direction in life. This could manifest in differences in values, priorities, or life goals that become more apparent over time. For example, one partner might seek stability, while the other desires adventure and change. While these differences can initially seem manageable, they can lead to a growing sense of disconnection, as both partners attempt to navigate divergent paths. The inability to meet on common ground emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually leads to dissatisfaction and the realization that the relationship may have outlived its purpose. Zen teachings offer a transformative perspective on recognizing these signs. According to Zen and Buddhist philosophy, suffering arises not from external circumstances, but from our attachment to them. When we cling to a relationship or the idea of permanence, we often find ourselves in cycles of frustration and disappointment when the reality of the relationship does not meet our expectations. The Buddha taught that attachment to people, outcomes, and specific expectations traps us in emotional suffering. Zen encourages us to let go of these attachments, seeing them not as failures, but as opportunities for personal and spiritual growth. Rather than clinging to a relationship that no longer brings peace, Zen philosophy invites us to view these signs as signals to release the relationship. By letting go, we free ourselves from emotional entanglements and create space for new growth and greater self-awareness. This process allows us to move forward, understanding that relationships are often temporary, and that true peace comes not from holding on, but from letting go. As we explore these signs, we begin to embrace the impermanence of relationships, seeing each one as a lesson and an opportunity to evolve. The next step is to delve into how embracing these signs can lead to greater inner peace and the development of more fulfilling connections in the future.